Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The feature race at Saratoga on Friday is the Grade 3 Lake George. These are 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the inner turf. It's carded as race number 9. Let's take a peek at this field. And no surprise, trainer Chad Brown, very well represented. He has debut winner number 2, Surge Capacity. He has Tax Implications, the 3 whose multiple stakes placed. He has Liguria, who just won the Wild Applause, the number 4. He has Revelita, who is third in the Wonder Again, the number 5. And he has utilization rate, the number 7 at 9-2. So Chad, as usual, has this race covered.
Only got half the field this time, though, Dan. We've seen them, complete more than that in a lot of his recent turf races. But listen, he's got the 5 horses that feel like, I mean, you could make the case that any one of them is the horse to beat in here.
We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Timeform US has this at a red bar, and I'll believe it when I see it on turf in New York that they're going to go fast early. Utilization rate, the number 7 went gate to wire last time out. He went 49 seconds to the half. Maybe the 10 Secret Money stretching out in distance is going to try to push this pace. Surge Capacity is another Chad. I find it hard to believe that the Chads are going to go out there and knock each other out.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen either. And I'm with you as far as being at least a little skeptical that this pace will be fast. We'll see how that all plays out. You know what? I feel like the more I looked at this race, and maybe the idea came to me a little too late, but boy, if the number 9 horse, Princess Bettina, was mine, I'd go forward with this horse. I think the best race she's ever run was 2 back when she wired a stakes field in California.
And we'll talk more about Princess Bettina in a little bit. If I was Jose Ortiz on Queen Picasso, I'd want to try to get to the lead, but Christophe Clement likes to have his horses in behind, and I won't be surprised if Queen Picasso opts for a pretty good pace tracking ground saving trip. She's a perfect 2 for 2. She's already won a route. She wins a sprint here. The Grade 3 Soaring Softly. First start off of a short layoff. She's had a very nice trip off of a moderate pace, but I do like the way she kicked on home, and she's got upside.
Yeah, she certainly does. She's got a great trip in this race. It's not a particularly strong field either, but she's going to get the job done relatively easily in this race, Dan. I think she's run well in both of her starts. I'm pretty sure that she can improve again in this race. She should get a really good trip in here from the rail. She's got a giant pedigree. Listen, I can't say I'm a huge fan of hers right now, but I get the case that could be made for her.
Surge Capacity is the number 2, and this horse made a nice debut appearance at Monmouth, going a mile and a 16th in a maiden special. The pace was contested. It wasn't necessarily fast. Surge Capacity was simply better than these horses as we see her streak away in the final 1/8 of a mile.
Looks good to me winning this race, Dan. I mean, they're going to step her right up into a much, much tougher race, it feels like, but there's nothing wrong with this performance. This is another horse that didn't look like her rider wanted her on the lead in that race, but she sort of wound up securing the rail and contesting it a little bit and just sprinted through the stretch. I was pretty taken with that debut.
And 2 of the also-rans from that race have already come back to win, so perhaps some good stuff upcoming for Surge Capacity. Joel Rosario picks up the mount. Tax Implications is up next. Manny Franco aboard for Chad. This horse hasn't been off the board from 3 lifetime starts. Ran okay last time out in the Wild Applause, considering it was her first race off of a lengthy layoff. The last run was the best run in that race, and she got run down by Liguria. All in all, that was a good building block effort.
I thought so too. It was a good performance. Her 2 races last year were both good. I really liked her debut at Monmouth when she beat Liguria. Her Chelsea Flower, there's an argument to be made that she could have won that race. She got to lugging in through the stretch, and Franco couldn't really keep her straight. But last time, maybe they just went a little too early, Dan, and I understand why they did that, but he made an early move in that race to take things over, and Liguria sat it out and just came and ran her down late. This horse ran really well last time.
She'll go second off a layoff here. Liguria went second off a layoff when she beat Tax Implications in the Wild Applause. Now she is last turning for home. She's going to ease out into the clear, and she comes flying to run down Tax Implications, who is directly to her inside. Liguria showed some ability last year as a Grade 3 stakes winner. She was wired in her seasonal debut, and she was ready to rock and roll second off the bench.
All of her races are good. She got a great ride in here from Irad, we've already talked about a little bit. He just sort of sat it out, waited until everybody else made their moves, and then came at the end and closed it down. But all of her races prior to that are good, Dan. Even the loss off the layoff at Churchill, I don't think you would watch it back and say that she had a terrible trip, but she was a little bit bottled up. She never got into the clear in the stretch to see any daylight, and the horse that was on the lead never stopped.
Maybe it's the 5 Revolita's turn for Chad as she makes her 3rd start of the form cycle. She was wired in her last 2 races. At Churchill Downs, she got beat 3/4 of a length. The horse that won that race was on the lead. Last time out in the Wonder Again, the horse that beat her was on the lead, and she came back to run second in the Belmont Oaks with an 85 Beyer speed figure. Here's Revolita. She's going to have a look at it, and for an instant, it looks like she's really going to fire, and then she flattens out just a bit. I kind of like them turning her back to a mile, and she might get a completely different pace setup than in her last 2.
I agree with all that stuff, Dan. I do. It felt like she was really going to make a big late run here, and she just goes to her wrong lead there at the end and flattens out just a little bit. I still think it was a good performance, trying to track down a wire-to-wire winner there. I thought she ran really well in the Edgewood after being taken back under a big hold early, and that horse wired the field, of course. All 3 of her starts over here are good. She had good form over in France before she got here. She's due for a better trip this time.
Here's the class test for the 6th. Lil Miss Moonlight coming in from Canterbury Park off of a stakes placing in her first race against winners. Lil Miss Moonlight's going to rally for 3rd in here. The winner of the race is a very good Minnesota bred. Came back to win a state bred stake on dirt with an 84 Beyer. She ran just fine in this race. It's just worlds different from a class standpoint, isn't it?
It really is. They're going to ship her in here. And I guess that's showing a little bit of confidence from these connections, Dan. But they just happened to ship her into a really, really tough race. And what she's done so far isn't going to get her much against this field.
Chad Brown's number 7, Utilization Rate, went gate to wire against maidens in this race at Belmont back on May the 27th. This race was going a mile and a 16th, and the fractions basically speak for themselves. 24 and 2, 49 and change for the half. No wonder she has enough left to really stretch it out down towards the wire, but I did like the way she finished it up.
I did too, but she just had all the best of it in here. It was another step in the right direction. I guess that's the positive takeaway from this race. To me, she looked like when Queen Picasso beat her on debut, she looked like she needed that race to me. I didn't see her excuse the second time out though, Dan, when Tryinmyheartout beat her.
We're going to watch Tryinmyheartout score in a first level allowance on June the 22nd, and she's 42-1, and she got to the lead, and she went almost 49 seconds to a half mile. She shows a lot of heart and determination to win this race, Mike. Now she's going to step up and face the big girls.
Yeah, it's a really tough test for her too, but at least she took a step in the right direction here. Longest shot on the board, Dan, getting the job done in this race. She was also the longest shot on the board when she beat Utilization Rate in her turf debut. Those 2 starts in the middle, though, boy, those weren't very good performances when she didn't get anywhere near the lead. So we'll see what kind of trip she can get here.
Princess Bettina scored 2 starts back at Santa Anita when Frankie Dettori realized there wasn't a lot of pace in the race, and he put Princess Bettina on the lead, and she loved it. She dusted that group. They ran her in the Pen Oaks, first time for Pletcher, last time out. Short field, no pace on paper, and they decided to rate her just off of the lead. It was very surprising, and Princess Bettina wound up getting wired, Mike.
Yeah, I didn't like the ride that she got here. And you can go back and watch the full replay of this, Dan, because they just rated her right from the start of this race. As this field moves up the backstretch, Dan, they're just racing in a really tight pack. They're going really slow. She's between and behind horses with really nowhere to go. And then after that, all she could do was chase. I mean, I thought that was a pretty bad ride for a horse who took a lot of money in that race. Your other point's well taken too, Dan. The race 2 starts back, when they got aggressive with her, it seemed like she really liked it. It's the best race she's ever run.
Secret Money is going to stretch out for the first time for trainer Brendan Walsh. This horse didn't have the greatest trip in her first start in stakes competition last time out in the Alley Wow. She was last on the rail turning into the stretch, over and behind horses for most of the way before wheeling out late. She's now stepping up in class as well as distance, but she can get forward from this outside post.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an excuse last time. That performance isn't as bad as it looks on paper, and it feels like she's another one who is headed the right way here, Dan. There's just a lot working against her. Post 10, stretching all the way out against a really good field here. She's got her work cut out for her.
Top pick time for the Grade 3 Lake George, race number 9 at the Spa on Friday. Mike, you're going with Revolita. Maybe a different pace setup this time around. Wired in her last 2 races, and it's her turn for Chad, maybe.
I'm hoping that she just gets a little bit of a better trip here, Dan. And the point that you made when we were talking about her earlier, I think is very well taken. A shorter distance could really work for this filly.
Liguria, I think, is the classiest thus far of the Chad trained fillies. I think she's going to come with a late kick, but demand a little bit of value in here. This is a wide open race. I'm not sure I'd take anything less than 5-2, and she might be shorter than that. 5-4-3-1 for Mike, 4-3-5-1 for me. It's the Grade 3 Lake George, the feature at the Spa on Friday. Best of luck.